Guys, welcome back to Royalcast. On April 15, 2014, out of 475 passengers and crews, 306 died in a disaster, including 250 students from Dwa- Dawong High School in Asan City. And out of approximately 172 survivors in this tragic sinking of the MV Sewol. And that's what we're going to be talking about, this horrific and very sad, very disturbing case. And I don't know, I've seen this recently of what happened, and mind you, this is from 2014, and a lot of these videos I've seen from it, and they're a little bit eerie and disturbing. So let's get into this case. So the ferry MV Sewol sank on the morning of April 16, 2014, en route to Incheon towards Jeju in South Korea. The 6,825-ton vessel set to distress signals from about 2.7 kilometers north of, I don't even know how to pronounce that name, but Bio, I don't pronounce the name. I don't want to butcher it. So you guys should know if you look up on the notes. But yeah, April 15, 2014, basically 476 passengers got into the ferry, and most of them were high schoolers. I did see video clips of them in the vessel of the ship wearing life vest, and it was kind of eerie because they found them dead the next day. And it was just, I don't know, the video, to me, they were so happy. They were like, they're saving us, and the feeling was basically that they're gonna save us, we will be fine. They were laughing, they were cracking up and everything, and then to find out that they did die. I seen a lot of the parents' videos, the news videos of the parents and stuff, and it's very devastating of what happened. A lot of people were confused on what was going on, why this happened, and why did it take, from what I've seen, why did it take a whole day for anything to happen? So it says, out of approximately 172 survivors, more than half were rescued by fishing boats and other commercial vessels that arrived at the scene approximately 4 minutes before the Korean Coast Guard even came. So, technically, not even the whole government helped. It was mostly, like, passerbys, fishing boats, commercial, those big tank ships were also like the ones that helped. It wasn't the Korean Coast Guard. None of them were rescued by those people, by the Coast Guard, to be honest. This happened between around 12:05 in the morning to like 11:54 p.m. Korean Standard Time. And the causes of this is still not undetermined. Still to this day, they do not understand what happened, what causes the boat to do that. There's 3 separate investigations. Suspects are the captain and 14 crew members. To this day, it's still not understandable what the fuck happened. So this is very, I don't know, very disturbing, but the sinking of Seoul resulted in a widespread social media politic reaction with the South Koreans. Many people criticize the actions of the ferry captain and the crew members. Also criticize where the ferry operators Chongjin Marine. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. I'm not fluent in this yet. I am studying a little bit more Korean, but not fluent yet. The regulators who oversaw in operations, along with administrators of the president Park Geun-hye, for her response to the disaster and attempts to downplay government capability, and the KCG for its poor handling of the disaster, which very much was a poor way to handle this whole entire situation. Outrage has also been expressed against the intentional fail reporting of the disaster by the government and the South Korean media, who claims everyone aboard had been rescued, and against the government's public image over the lives of its citizens in refusing help from other countries and publicly downplaying the severity of the disaster. So, on May 15, 2014, the captain and 3 crew members were charged with murder, while the other 11 members of the crew were indicted of abandoning the ship. As part of a government campaign to manage public's sentiment over the official response by the sinking, an arrest a warrant was issued for Yo Bong, which is described as the owner of the Marine, but he could not be found despite nationwide manhunt. On July 22, 2014, police relieved that they had established that a dead man was found in the field, roughly 290 kilometers of Seoul, the south of Seoul, and it was Yo, which is basically the Marine owner. So that was the aftermath. The day of the sinking of the ship. So this is how it played out from according to what I have notes here. On April 16th at 7:30 in the morning, 3rd May Park Jun took over watch from the previous team. At this was Sewol was heading at a course of 165 degrees at a speeding of 20 knots, and was operating 2 radio device. At 8:20, when the ship was about 3 kilometers from entering the channel, Mingo Channel, Park ordered Cho to change the steering system from autopilot to manual steering. I don't know. I can't speak clearly today. I don't know why. But when Seoul arrived at the channel 8:27, the course of around 137 degrees and the wind speed was between 4 to 7 meters per second. The wave heat 0.5 meters and the visibility was good. The channel had strong currents, which necessitated extreme cautions when steering a ship through it. At the time of the incident, conditions were calm and Seoul was following a route that was frequently used. While the wider area of the channel contains rock hazards and shallow waters, they were not in the intimate vicinity of the ship's usual paths, which prosecutors and some news organizations labeled Park as inexperienced based on his informality with the channels. The Korean Maritime Safety Investigation reports noted that she had on multiple occasions passed through the channel on another ship. As Seoul approached the fatal turn, breakfast was being served in the cafeteria. CCTV data taken at 8:40 a.m. showed students present and socializing on the deck. One survivor passenger, Cho Seo, recalled having gone up to the deck to smoke right before the incident. So, right before the incident, Park and Cho were standing side by side near the ship of the wheel at the bridge. Captain Lee was absent from the bridge at the time, and nobody knew where he was at, where he went. He was just gone. And at 8:47, Seoul was traveling at the speed of 18 knots At a course of around 136 degrees, Park ordered Cho to change the course from 135 degrees to 140 degrees, which Cho consistently undertook. So the account of what happened next are, a little bit of an issue, conflicts. According to Park testimony, it says that after she had used the radar to check Sewol's course was changed, and the new course was set to 140, she ordered Cho to change the course to the ship further to 145 degrees. The order was given at 8:48 a.m. after realizing the ship was heavily listed to starboard, which led the bow to turn to the right. She gave an order to turn the wheel to the port. Immediately after giving the order, she heard Cho exclaim that the wheel isn't working in a flustered voice, after which the ship started listing. Choi's testimony did not notable differ from that of Park. He testified that the listing began with the order to turn to 140 degrees. According to Chow, he only received the order to change the course to 140 degrees, not the order to change the course to 145 degrees, because Sewol kept turning towards the right. Even if he was holding onto the wheel, he was made 2 turns to the left among the 5-degree turn. Because the ship did not stop it rightward turning, it was eventually facing a 145-degree course. Cho testified that Park gave an order to turn in the opposite direction at this point, which he followed by turning the ship further to the left by 10 degrees, so the amount of the turn became 15 degrees to the left. The court's conclusion basically said that Cho's steering led the ship to an attempt of 15 degrees turns for 40 seconds. The court concluded that Cho was flustered by the ship turning faster than expected while he was following Park's order to turn 145 degrees. But attempting to turn to the left when he took the Park's order to turn in the opposite direction, this led him to turn to the right, causing the front of the ship to rapidly turn right. So these were like the testimony of what they said and what happened. Everything concluded with each other's testimonies, as I said. But it's still the matter of what the fuck actually really happened in the ship. Like, where was the captain? Like, what happened? So, the effect of these turns, later analyzed, tracked by the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, revealed that the ship automatic identification system had stopped collecting data from 8:45 to 8:49. Consistently, the ministry basically lost 36 seconds of the data, which, earlier reports that the investigation believed that there was a power outage. A power outage on a ship, that's just weird, but okay. The head of expert advisory panel on the police prosecution joint investigation team testified that the AIS failure was due to systems and limitations, and that failure did not affect the steering. But according to the joint investigation team, Sewol's sharp turn was a combined result produced by a steering error and the lessened restoring force caused by overloading. However, investigation did not show any malfunction with the generator or the battery. So from 8:49, ASA data shows the ship angular velocity accelerated for 0.29 degrees per second to 0.8312 until 8:49. These readings were consistently with previous test data gained from earlier tests conducted on the empty ship. The ship itself listed 20 degrees into the water, causing cargo to fall onto one side of the ship. The impact caused the ship to regular angular velocity of 15 at 8:49, 14 the next second, and minus 11 the following second. Given that shift a cargo affected compound, the stabilization effect of the ship tilted 10 degrees further into the water, passengers also reported hearing a loud banging in it. Cargo's going. These are big, like, containers that you see on ships. I think those were the ones. But Nonetheless, if you hear a big bang, it's probably those bigger containers that you see on ships. As Sho sharply turned the ship for 135 to 150 degrees, the ship began to list to the port and tilt towards the water. The overall effect was that the ship turned about 45 degrees to right and then rotated additional 22 on the spot of span of 20 seconds. The cargo falling to one side of the ship caused, the Sewol to, basically the ship to lose all of, restoring force and allowing water to flow into the ship through the side of the door of the cargo loading bay and car entrance located at the stern. This scenario was confirmed by simulation separately run by expert advisories with the joint investigation team. So the Korean Research Institution of Ship and Ocean Engineering and also the Advanced Marine Engineering Center of Seoul University. Cho testified that the tilting lasted for about 2 to 3 minutes after the intentional tilt. During this time, an off-duty helmsman who was sleeping in the cabin was awakened when he was thrown against the port side. As of 8:50, Sewol was leaning 30 degrees to the port. Now, with the captain. Captain Lee, who was in his private cabin at the time of the incident, immediately rushed to the bridge. After a short period, all the shipmates and helmsmen arrived there as well. Around this time, Cho stopped the engine, although it is unknown whether it was on his own volition or following the order of Lee. At 8:50, Cho ordered the evacuation of the engine room through a call to the assistant engineer. During this time, Park was crying as she was startled by the sudden incident. This lasted about at least 9:06. When the engines were all off, the ship became unable to change direction and began drifting sideways. A passenger later testified that the lights were out after the ferry started listing. So this is all going down to the incident. A lot was happening in the top. My thing is, why would a captain not let everyone know from their crew, hey, I'm going to go to sleep, take a nap, because it is tiring. But also have someone in charge just in case anything happens, not have crew members that sometimes, it doesn't look like he knew what he was doing. That's what I'm fucking saying. He didn't know what he was fucking doing. So as Sewol began to sink, the ferry intercom system started ordering the passengers to stay put, adding that moving was dangerous. The announcement was made by the communication officer, Kang, who had not consulted the manual before the broadcast. I don't know why we have manuals and rules instead and training, and it's not even usable when situations happen. Because if I am in a ship and I am working in a ship, I best believe I'm going to read a fucking manual so I know what the fuck I'm going to be doing. I don't know why, and I know some people list shit on their resume just to get a job, but when you get there, you don't know how to fucking do anything at all. And this is what happens. He did not consult the manual before broadcasting a fucking communication. Imagine, you see yourself in a fucking ship and it's turning the fuck around. It's tilting. You hear a big bang. You're in the middle of the fucking water and you hear this fucking sound communication saying everybody has to stay put. People are gonna panic. People are not gonna be like, okay, we're just gonna do what you're saying. No, we're gonna panic. Because if you tell me I'm not to move because the ship is tilted, what the fuck do you think you're gonna expect? People are going to go crazy because people want to fucking live. It don't make sense to me. So we're gonna go to the first emergency call that was made by Choi, a Daewon High School student aboard the ferry. At 8:52, he called the National Emergency Service number and he reported to the fire station that the Sewol had begun to capsize. Joe was connected to the Monon Coast Guard at 8:54 and was asked to give the latitude and longitude of the ship's location. So 3 minutes later, the Mont Coast Guard Station's Situation Room ordered patrol vessel number 123 to be dispatched at the scene, and the vessel was launched at 8:58. Following the Coast Guard search and rescue manual, the boat was in charge of surveying the area and swiftly rescuing passengers. Cho did not survive the capsize and was later found dead. And this was a high school student. And he was one of the most of the deads among the high school students and other featured passengers. At 8:55, crew member made their first distress call to Juju VTS. Juju basically is like a little island that I really want to go to and visit because it looks so fucking beautiful. And asked them to notify KCG that the ferry was rolling and in danger. At 8:56, the Juju VTS called the Juju Coast Guard. 3 minutes later, the Juju Coast Guard called the Moko Coast Guard and discovered that the patrol boat had been already dispatched. But at 9:01, a crew member on the boat called Ichiwan branch to report the situation. Head office located in Juju then called Captain Lee at 9:03 for a report of the situation. The Ichiwan branch then talked to the first mate in 5 telephone calls over the next 35 minutes. But at 9:06, around there, Juno VTS were informed about the capsizing incident by the Moko Coast Guard. Around this time, the crew members began communicating with the Juno VTS, which was closer to the location. But for the next 2 minutes, they were alerted 2 other ships that the Sewol was sinking, with one confirming that it was a visual contact with the ship. But at 9:07, the ferry crew members confirmed that she was capsizing and requested help for the KCG. 9:14, the crew stated that the ship angular fuel made evacuation impossible. Around this time, the captain of the patrol vessel number 123 was appointed the commander of the scene. 4 minutes afterwards, the crew reported that the ferry had heeled more than 50 degrees to the port. At 9:53, the VTS ordered the crew to inform the passengers to wear life jackets, where the crews replied that the broadcast equipment was out of order. The VTS told them to personally order the passengers to wear life jackets and more clothing. At 9:25, the VTS asked Captain Lee to decide quickly whether to evacuate the ship, stating that they did not have enough information to make that decision. When Lee inquired about rescue, the VTS replied that the patrol boats were due to arrive in 10 minutes and a helicopter in 1. Lee then replied that there were too many passengers for the helicopter. During this time, Lee told passengers to stay in their cabins. The communication officers using the ship intercom repeatedly ordered passengers, "Do not move." While at 9:33, after confirming their nearby ships had volunteered to help in rescue the operation, the VTS told the ships to drop lifeboats for passengers, and at 9:38, all communications were cut off between the VTS and Sewol. And 3 minutes after the communications were cut, about 150 to 160 passengers and crew jumped overboard. This is what happened after that. Basically, during the capsizing, the members of the crew were drinking beer, and communication by telephone and the staff were from Chohang at 7 different times, as the passengers stayed in their cabins as instructed. So Captain Lee and his crew abandoned the whole fucking ship. Lee Choi and the first and second mates were the first to be rescued, with Captain Lee rescued around 9:46. What the fuck? I know I heard a lot of like, if you're the captain of the ship, you're the last one to be out because this is your ship. This man abandoned everyone else. Passengers were not the number one priority. These kids were not the number one priority. Like, the crew was the one to be saved than the fucking passengers. And that's just gets me pissed off. But this is for the passengers. So as the ship was capsized, some passengers followed an announcement to stay put. Even as the water came in, most of the students' passengers obeyed the announcement. Some passenger who disobeyed the announcement climbed to the top of the ship and jumped into the water. They were rescued. Video recording from what I said in earlier. So there was video recordings of the passengers during the capsizing has been recovered, and some recorded the announcement telling passengers to stay in place, put on their life jackets, while some showed passengers joking around, putting on life jackets, and sending farewells. Passengers made calls, sent text messages to this app that they have, Kakua Talk mobile messages. I don't know what. I haven't used this one in a minute, so I don't know. Also, it says, during the capsizing, the last message was sent at 10:17 a.m. Text message and social media posts allegedly made by survivors still trapped after the capsizings criticizing the media. But an investigation by the Cyber Terror Response Centers found that none of the trapped passengers used their phone between 12 p.m. on April 16 and 10 a.m. on April 17. And that all reported survivors' message within the time was false. So Sewol took 2.5 hours to sink. By 11:18 a.m., the stern was submerged, with a section of the hull in about 2 meters, which is 6 feet 7 inches high, and 20 to 30 meters, which is 66 to 98 feet long, showing above the water. By 12 noon on April 16, only 50 centimeters, which is 20 inches, of the Balbo's bow was above water, and at 1:03 the ship was completely submerged. The first day of the rescue, at 8:58 on April 16, 2014, they were a response to the first report of the incident, and after that, the KCG set up a rescue operation headquarters at 9:10 a.m. in the morning. The patrol vessel on number 123 arrived at the scene at 9:30, and the first ship to arrive to the site of the incident. During the time between the dispatch and the operations on the number 123 failed to raise Sewol and chose to call for other ships on the radio. Crew members on the ship had not directly communicated with the sickened vessel and were not aware of the contact of the communication between the Sewol and the Jewel VTS on arrival. Sewol had listed about 50 to 60 degrees to the port, and rescue made an announcement for 5 minutes calling people to abandon ship, jump into the water. Number 123 began rescue operating at 9:38 with the dispatching of a rubber boat. Passengers who had reached the deck and jumped into the water were rescued, including Captain Lee, but rescuers could not get into the ship due to the list. People trapped inside Sewol pilot house were rescued by breaking through the window. Now at 9:35, Korean Ministry of National Defense started operating coastal disaster headquarters. But at 9:40, the Ministry of Ocean and Furnace declared the incident to be highest state of emergency in terms of naval incidents. So the Center Control Response headquarters were established, and at the same time, Ministry of Health and Welfare sent emergency vehicles and the first squad of disaster medical support team to Juneau. At 11:28, the Korean Navy ship Sovereign Unit were reported to have been deployed to the operation. At 2:42, 150 Special Force personnel from Republic of Korea Army Special Warfare Command, included 40 scuba divers, were sent for the operation. At this point, 196 personnel, including 82 in the SSU and 142 the Republic of Korea National Special Welfare, were included in this operation. And at 3:07, it was reported to have started operating the Prevention and Countermeasures Headquarters after 5 units from the SSU began undersea operations. At 5:13, basically, the officers of education were reported to have started operating in the Hansol-Dan Won High School Incident Countermeasure Reporting Compel Headquarters. Yo, these headquarters have so many fucking long names. I can't. And at 8 o'clock p.m., operations investigating the ship hull were ceased. As of 10:03, the following units were in rescue operation, which are the naval force, including sailors from the 3rd Fleet, Dokoro, I don't know how to say these names, class, also class Furman, class destroyer, the Republic of Korea Air Force sent support units as the Lockheed C-130 Hercules, Sakura HH-60, I don't know these names, I don't know how to say these names, and today I don't know how to fucking talk at all, so yeah. The Republic of Korea Army sent units including 150 Special Welfare Command soldiers and 11 ambulance. Now, the second day that this happened, which is the starting of 17th of April, Undine Marine Industries, a privately held company, began to lead the search of the missing passengers. At 12:30 a.m., whole investigation were started by the KCG with the help of flares. At 6 a.m., 171 ships, 29 aircrafts, and 30 divers were involved in the rescue effort. The KCG had assigned 20 divers in teams of 2. The ROK Navy was also assigned 8 divers, and the KCG prevented them from participating and waited for divers from the underend industry. At 7:24, my bad. Civilians groups of experts, the divers, reportedly to be helping out in the rescue operation. During the morning, the number of divers included the operation reached 555. The Navy also established a military control on the tower to the class assault ship. Starting around 2 p.m., rescue operations was practically stopped due to bad weather conditions. A marine crane arrived on the scene that same night. At 10:50 on April 18th, which is like the 3rd day, the KCG began pumping in air to support possible air pockets. At the same time, divers entered the capsized ship hull but only gained access to the cargo deck. The divers' entrance was later labeled a failure by the Central Disaster Countermeasure Headquarters. On April 19th, a Navy petty officer who was injured during rescue and operation has died. On April 21st, remotely operated underwater vehicle has begun to be used for operation, which I don't understand why they couldn't be used when this accident happened, the first minute that they needed to be used. But I can't be people. But it was used on April 21st to begin to use the operation. April 24th, the CR-200 Crabstar robot was sent to the rescue site. An underground marine diver died on May 6th, followed by another diver death on the 30th. On 17th July, a firefighter helicopter returned from rescuing operation crashed near an apartment complex, killing all 5 officers aboard and including a high school student. So this is like disaster on disaster. Now, the government announced on the 22nd of April of 2015 that it was approved plans to solve the wreckage of the salt in hopes of finding more information about the sinking and recovering the bodies of the 9 victims that were still missing. The plan was intentionally put forward by President Park, but was endorsed by the Ministry of Public Safety and Security, Park In-young. The operation was expected to take as long as 18 months to cost between 91 to 137 million dollars. Now, for the survivors and the casualty, at 11:01, they began to report that all students have been rescued. This news was re-reported by other news organization and continued until 11:26. But around 11 Korean time, officers working for the educational department of Gyeonggi province sent a text message to the students' parents stating that all students had been rescued. The officer's brief was apparently confirmed by a police officer in the Dangwon Police Department. Intentionally, reports stated that the rescuers retrieved 368 people from cold waters as the passenger, mostly students, had jumped overboard when the vessel started sinking. The South Korea government later remained that basically 297 passengers still remain missing. So whoever started that they were all the students rescued, they kind of lied. They fucking lied. And then news outlets just went with that story, all of them, and didn't look at straight facts. So 22 of the 29 crew members survived, including 15 responsibles for the fucking navigation, because this motherfucker decided to jump the fucking bandwagon instead of waiting for his passengers to be saved. So in April 17th, Morning Edition reported that 174 people have been rescued, 4 had died, and 284 were missing. According to CNN and its affiliate YTN, 6 people died. News Korea reported that as 8 o'clock in the morning, 179 people have been rescued, 6 had died, 290 were missing. Three more people were found dead at 11 a.m. and then confirmed death toll rise to 9. At 10, it was confirmed that the death toll has risen to 14. Over the course of the following months, the death toll rose into the hundreds, and the death toll stood to 294 as of 22 of July 2014. With 10 missing, the day marked the recovery of the last cabin crew member. The sinking, basically, this is just a whole disaster because this was one of the deadliest ferry disaster in South Korea since December 14th of 1970, when the sinking of the ferry Namyang killed 326 people out of the 338 people aboard. So the causes, they were doing the investigation, as I stated. As of December 13th of 2022, Vesta has concluded that the cause of the sinking was undetermined, and early theories about the sinking include a range of explanation given as follows. So an unreasonable sudden turn was one of them, as I stated, basically what both of the crew members were stating. The cargo shift to the port, which turned the cause of ship list to eventually unmanageable for the crew. The existence of the sudden turn has been confirmed by the analysis of the ship AIS data. The ship crew agree that the main cause was the sudden turn. Experts such as Lee Sung-young, a professor at the Environment of Marine Technology Institution, also did agree. But it's just mind-boggling. They did ask for foreign response for help. The USS Bomb Richard was sent to assist in the air-sea rescue operation, but they did not get the approval of the ROK Navy for its helicopter participation in the rescue. So the U.S. Navy and the salvage Safeguard was sent to South Korea to take place in the rescue operation, but the Japanese Coast Guard offered support as well as the message for sympathy condolences from the Japanese government. The KCG declined the offer, saying that while the offer was welcome, special assistance was not needed in this occasion, which clearly it was fucking needed because all these people were fucking missing. As April 16, 2014, killing about 304 people, almost all of them were children. The body of 9 people were never found. Relatives they have campaigned hard for them to be recovered. But, the ship was raised to last a week after almost 3 years on the seafloor, put on a platform to be towed to the port. Victims who have yet to be recovered are 4 school children, 2 teachers, and a married couple and their child. The ship was supposed to reach, the Mokopo port later that week, where it would meet the families of the victim before being cleaned and searched for their remains. It's very sad. I seen a lot of videos of the parents arguing with the Korean government and telling them to put the crew members in jail, put the captain in jail, and all this, which I kindly agree, because this is your ship to control. You were sleeping and your crew members decided to do this, and then the girl tried to help, but it didn't work. The captain, like I said, in all types of movies and people that I've seen from like ships, the captain is always supposed to be the last one off the ship, due to that is your responsibility of the passengers to be rescued. For right now, it says that the ship captain was later convicted of murder, which, it's debatable. But I think I do agree with the conviction of murder, because he did jump the ship. He told everyone, stay in your room, don't move. When in reality, he should have told them, hey, this is what's going on, we need to calm down. There's a little bit of offense, because some people, if you do tell them things straight on and what's going on, they do get a little bit crazy and they panic. And it's good to tell people the truth so they can expect what to do next. So they can, if just in case anything happens, like they said, the communication from the speaker wasn't working, people already know what's going on, so they can they can do what they need to do to get out of a situation. But it's just 2 sides of different stories, 2 things that could be taken out of court. But this was a tragic South Korea ferry disaster that happened in 2014, that still to this day people are still missing. If you do want to see the eerie video that they did post, because they did post, the kids were wearing their lifeguard jackets, and they were being responsible. They were listening to what the captain and the crew members were telling them, and due to this, they did pass away. The video is still eerie to see all of these beautiful kids passing away. The video is eerie. The video is just eerie to me. I seen it at multiple platforms, and it's just something that very sad. It's very sad. We lost all these people, and like I said, it's mostly the kids, but also family members were there. Like I said, it was missing of a family with the wife and the husband, and the child was missing. So you can expect that they probably very, very deep below the ocean at this point. And I'm just mad it took them 3 days to do all of this, which, if from what I've seen from like the ocean, you have a little bit of time to actually, you know, rescue yourself from where you at. So yeah, this is a very sad case. It's still an ongoing case to this day, because they're still trying to really figure out what happened, what caused it. Like, they're doing a lot of tests on this, so yeah. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this case so far for this Friday week. I hope you guys are enjoying these cases. They're a little bit more, very, very gruesome, some of them, and some of them are very sad, but these cases need to be known because of what's going on in the world. And, rest in peace to the passengers who passed away and some of the other crew members that passed away too. Also, condolences to the family. I know it's a very sad time, so I'm sorry, but yeah, I catch you guys every Friday at 11 p.m. for Royal Cast After Dark, and Wednesdays at 11 for the regular time schedule Royal Cast episodes. And I see you guys next Friday. Deuces.